Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to get straight into learning how to actually design in Illustrator. So I'm going to teach you a few tools. The first one we're going to start with is the shape tool. So on your left toolbar here, you'll notice that there is probably a rectangular shape. This is our rectangle tool, and we use this to draw squares, rectangles, and a range of different shapes. To draw a shape, you simply just click, hold, and you drag to form a new shape. The rectangle is really cool because you can form any kind of rectangular shape like so. If you want to form a perfect square, when you click and hold, as you drag, if you hold down shift, it'll keep your square in perfect proportion. So that is a perfect shape. We also have on the shape toolbar the rounded rectangle tool. It's essentially the same, it just has rounded corners. And then we also have the ellipse tool. This is what we use to draw circles and ovals. If you click and hold, again, you can drag out and form circular shapes like so. And once you release, you'll have your shape. Again, to draw a perfect circle, as you are creating this shape, if you hold down shift, it'll keep everything in proportion. So that's how you draw a perfect circle. There's another way to draw circles, and that is from the center out. So if you hold down Alt and Shift before you click and hold, you can actually drag and form the shape from the center out instead of from the corner. And this is great when you're trying to place an object in a particular location like so. It's also a really efficient way of working. In our shape toolbar, again, if we click and hold, there's the polygon tool. We click and hold to create polygons. Before we finish the shape, before we let go of the mouse, if you use the up and down arrows, you can actually add or subtract corners from your design. And this can really help to form a range of different shapes. There's also the star tool. And again, like the polygon tool, if you click and hold before you release, if you use the up and down arrows, you can add or subtract points. And this is great for forming triangles, or if you're trying to make really interesting objects like so. That is our shape tool, and that's how you draw perfect shapes as well. On my page at the moment, I've just got a series of random shapes, and I want to move them about. I want to rotate them. I want to join them together as well. How I can go about doing that is if I up on the top left corner of my toolbar, I have this selection tool. It is a black arrow. When you use this, you can click and hold and drag objects and rearrange them like so. When we come to objects like this square that I want to rotate, if I hover over the corners, we see that my arrows actually change to a bent arrow. That means when I click and hold, I can rotate my object however I want. If I want to rotate it in perfect increments, I can hold down shift, and this does this in perfect 45-degree increments. And this can be really helpful when we're trying to create a nice circular pattern. So that is how you move and rotate objects, guys. At this point, all I've got are black shapes with white outlines. I want to change it. I want to make some color. I want to get rid of certain features as well. So if I click a shape, that has selected that shape. So now I can alter that. On the left side where our toolbar is, we'll notice these two squares. So this black square here controls our fill. That is the color inside a shape. This white square that we see here, that's hollow in the center, that controls the stroke. So that is the outline of our shape. To change the color of either, you simply double click the square and this color picker panel will pop up. On the right side here is how you control the color that you'd like to use. And in this particular square area is where you actually select the shade of color you want to use. So I want to use this particular blue. Once I hit OK, that has applied to my shape. I want the outline to change as well, so I double click that white hollow square and I'm going to change it to something a bit vibrant. Might use a pink like so. So that's my shape. It's still selected. What I'm going to do so I can see it a bit better, I'm going to click this white space over here and deselect the shape. And I can see it actually looks pretty cool, pretty engaging. I actually want this outline to increase. I want to make it a little bit thicker, a little bit bolder. What I can do is if I select the shape again, there's an option at the top of our screen here that says stroke, and that controls the thickness of our outline. So if I use those arrows, I can make it thicker or make it thinner. And this is a really, really valuable tool, especially if we're trying to create a focal point or an emphasis in our design. Let's say I've changed the color of this shape as well to a nice vibrant pink. and I actually don't want it to have an outline at all. How I can eliminate that is if I click this white hollow square again, we see this symbol underneath with the dash, and that is our none symbol. So when I click that, it actually eliminates the outside stroke, and therefore it's just a filled shape. It's just a block of color. And you can do this to shapes that you've drawn as well as shapes that you've created using the pen tool in future videos. If I want to change that and I want it to have just an outline but nothing on the inside, I can click this little arrow here, and that swaps the fill and stroke color. So if I click that, we now see that it has a purple outline and that there is no fill on the inside. And what it means by having no fill, it means if I decide to layer this over the top, we see that our purple outline is there, but there's no color behind it. In fact, this black shines all the way through. And that can be really useful if we're trying to overlay shapes to create interesting designs. How we can control other features like the transparency of our design. Let's say we want to make this a little bit more opaque or transparent. Once we've selected the shape like so, we can control the opacity at the top of the screen here. We can adjust that to suit our needs, and that turns down the actual intensity. And because it turns down the intensity, let's say I make these two shapes both at 50% roughly opacity. When I lay them over each other, we can see that they're actually building up and create a really interesting sense of tone. So that's a really, really cool tool to learn. One last feature I want to show you guys is how to copy and paste features really quickly. Let's say I really like this sun, I want to get rid of the outside stroke so we can really see the points. So now it's just a black filled. I want to copy and paste this a lot, so I'm going to teach you a couple of shortcuts. Before I do that though, I'm going to show you how to resize objects. So once we've selected, if we go to the corners, we can click and hold and resize. If we hold down shift when we're resizing, it keeps everything in proportions. That's the best way to go about resizing. Now that I've got this shape that I want to copy and paste, I could do the old-fashioned way of clicking it, pressing Control C and then Control V, but I feel like that's a little bit inefficient. The most effective way to do it is once you've selected it like so, if you hold down Control and Alt, and then you click and drag your shape, you can actually form new shapes and place them wherever you want really, really quickly. And this is a great way of developing pattern designs. And that is going to be your first design task, which I'll explain in the next video.